05. Genesis and Eschatology. Eschatology, along with Creationism, is the basis of Christian doctrine. Creationism is a Christian worldview that the origin of the universe begins with God's creation. Life has a beginning and an end. There is birth and there is death. It is subject to space and time, and it is very natural for everyone to assume a beginning and an end. Is that why the name of the book, Genesis, in the Bible also has the beginning of the universe in mind? The name was built on the premise that the book is the beginning of everything. According to the Hebrews, it is not Genesis. The Hebrew way of referring to the Pentateuch is that the first word of the book is the title of the book. Therefore, the name of the book according to the way of the Hebrews is not Genesis, toldot, but bereshit. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Genesis chapter 1 verse 1. The name, Genesis, comes from the Greek translation of the Septuagint for Genesis chapter 2 verse 4. Ot he biblos Genesios oranu kai ges. This is the book of the generation of heaven and earth. Brenton Septuagint translation. Surprisingly, it is very similar to the first verse of the New Testament. Biblos Genesios Jesu Christou, the world of Jesus Christ, the book of the generation of Jesus Christ. If we refer to Genesis chapter 5 verse 1, the meaning becomes clearer. Ze Sefer toldot Adam biom bara Elohim Adam. This is the book of the generations of Adam. It is also a part that requires historical research and discussion about the editing process of the book. And when the Hebrew word, toldot lineage, descendant, is translated as Genesios, also contains the meaning of lineage, descendant, and descendant rather than creation or origin. It means genealogy. It means that it is not a physical genealogy, but a spiritual genealogy, a book that contains the genealogy of heaven and earth, and of Jesus Christ. Crucially, it is my opinion that even the Greek word, Genesios, has been transformed into the meaning of origin or creation, as the Latin Bible translates toldot, or Genesios, as origine. Since then, all translations of the Bible follow the Septuagint classification method, and the titles of books do not follow the Hebrew Bible but follow the Septuagint. And today, the name of the book has been universalized as Genesis, by implying the meaning of Genesis, or origin. It was wrong from the name of the book Genesis, and it created a decisive opportunity to form the creation theory and eschatology that form the framework of the Christian worldview. No, it may be correct that such a worldview changed the first book of the Bible, bereshit, and named it Genesis. It became a decisive opportunity to prevent readers of the Bible from seeing it properly. Of course, many stories about creation appear in Genesis chapter 1, which I have no choice but to use according to the general classification method. Numerous articles about bara, create, asa, make, and yatsar, form, Genesis chapter 2 verse 7, appear. Nevertheless, the more important thing in creation is bereshit. This word, which contains the meaning of source, head, and principle, is the key word of Genesis and is also the name of the first book of the Pentateuch, which the Hebrews call. It is rather correct to say that it is not the Genesis, but in principle or in arsh and original root. How good it would have been if it had been named en arsh, after principle, in English or the Greek translation. It is my idea that the name of the lost book should be recovered even now. Eschatology forms another dreadful doctrine that was naturally assumed along with creationism when the name of Genesis began. Isn't it a very natural phenomenon to say the end of the universe along with the creation of the universe? However, Genesis tells the story of creation by borrowing numerous phenomena of the universe, but it is not the story of the creation of the physical universe. Eschatology is not a story about the end of the physical universe. Numerous accounts in the Book of Revelation are also not about a cosmic end. The story of the end of the world that Jesus is talking about is not talking about the physical end of heaven and earth. The Book of Revelation is not an apocalyptic book about the end of the time of Chronos, but a kairos apocalypse about the end of the first world view that was captivated by the great ideology and the arrival of a new world view. If it is a story that the second heaven and the second earth will arrive after the first heaven and the first earth, it also refers to the book of the generation of heaven and earth. Not only Christianity, but the eschatology of all religions, which are futile, are parasitic on the fact that the human body has a beginning and an end, so it is inevitably subordinate to time and space and confined to the limits of time and space. On the contrary, these are religious devices that devastate human consciousness. The delusion of eschatology cannot be covered up by saying that there is a positive role in the present world that makes us conscious of the afterlife and adjust our collars. Where the apocalyptic storm swept away, there is always nothing but emptiness and death. The deception and deceit created by human vain desire is the eschatology. Can we stop reading the Bible from this point of view?